Dying Light 2 is just around the corner, and personally I am extremely excited for the game. It's one of the only games where I've decided to buy the Ultimate Edition, but at the same time I am on PC. And thanks to Cyberpunk 2077's horrible console ports, lots of people are noticing similar patterns with Dying Light 2 in terms of what we know about the console port. Now I hope to God that I am wrong and that the game turns out fantastic on consoles, but all we've seen so far is insanely heavily scripted 10-second or so glimpses of the game on each console. So scripted that it feels as if Techland took the majority of their time trying to edit out any issues they found with the game on console. If there is one thing no YouTuber should be currently doing, it is encouraging people to buy the game on console pre-launch. Wait until the game launches and we actually know what the console port looks like, because right now we essentially have no idea. We only have about 10 seconds of gameplay for each console to base our ideas off of, and we are not even a month away from launch, whilst at the same time we have shit tons of PC gameplay alongside almost no console gameplay. But the gameplay we do have for those systems is even more scripted than the PC trailers, which is really saying something. But for some reason, instead of being sensible and remaining cautious in regards to the console ports that Techland very strangely are so timid to show off, Cynic the original decided to upload a video claiming that the game will be best played on the PS5, and Cynic didn't even wait until we got the 10 seconds of gameplay for each console. He uploaded a video promoting buying Dying Light 2 on PS5 right now, days before we had even seen gameplay footage. Now even if the game launches in a good state on consoles, it is a blatantly false statement that the game will play best on PS5. Playing the game on a high-end PC will obviously provide a better experience 99% of the time. The most laughable thing about his video is that the reason he provides is fucking haptic feedback on the DualSense controller and 3D audio, things we have seen on PC multiple times, and in the case of 3D audio, it is supported by the Xbox Series X. So without further delay, I'll let the video play.
So there's been a lot of new eyes on the channel and on Dying Light 2. You know, it is right around the corner. There's been a lot of awareness generating, and with this curiosity and this new sense of crush and anxiety that's just growing each and every day as we get closer to that launch day, there's been a topic generating that I want to touch on.
So let me get this straight. The huge point of discussion that apparently so many people have been talking about that you wanted to touch on was DualSense and 3D audio, not the insane lack of console gameplay that is pointing towards another Cyberpunk 2077 situation on consoles. And either way, I haven't seen anything close to a large amount of people give a shit about those two features, because one of them, aka haptic feedback, is a complete gimmick, and the other, aka 3D audio, is something that has been around for years. There are some fairly large points of discussion that you could have dedicated an entire video to, you know, like the insane lack of console gameplay other than highly scripted 10-second showcases of the game on PS4, PS5 and Xbox One X. Don't know about you guys, but I think there are far more important topics to discuss than this in regards to Dying Light 2 right now.
Now, it's not exactly a brand new topic, especially for those that have been devouring each and every small piece of information they can get their hands on, but it's still something I wanted to mention because in some respects I think people are getting their expectations out of hand.
Well, your video shows out doesn't help with that. You spend a huge amount of the video overhyping 3D audio as if it will revolutionize the way you experience Dying Light 2. Spoiler alert, it won't. The difference between normal audio and the PS5's 3D audio is nowhere near as insane as this guy's video makes it out to be. It is negligible at best, and most people probably won't even notice the difference if I'm being honest. If you think people are getting their expectations out of hand, then don't push your expectations even higher.
But over the last year or so, all the way back in 2020 is actually the first time Timon Spectala, the lead game designer over at Techland, has actually mentioned the DualSense controller. And ever since then, we've been getting sporadic interviews and articles dropped on how Dying Light 2 is actually going to be supporting DualSense capabilities, from adaptive triggers, haptic feedback, and of course 3D audio. To explain exactly what the hell that means, in layman's terms, adaptive triggers simulate resistance to give a more realistic experience.
And it is a feature the vast majority of people will turn off. Just like you say later in the video, it is a gimmick, and it is not a PS5 exclusive feature like this guy seems to think. You'll more than likely be able to use these DualSense features when it comes to adaptive triggers and haptic feedback on PC. We've been seeing it happen for a while now with games like AC Valhalla, Deathloop, COD Vanguard plus Cold War and so on. However, don't worry Xbox users, you are absolutely not missing out on anything special here. It would quite literally just be another annoying thing you go into the settings of every game in order to turn it off when you first launch them.
Haptic feedback, on the other hand, refers to the controller's rumble or vibration. The difference in the PlayStation 5's controller is instead of the whole thing shaking, it has the ability to pinpoint sensations. So while the triggers refer to you, let's say, hitting a zombie with a blunt force object or even a sharp object, the haptic feedback theoretically should allow you to feel which side of the controller is going to shake depending on the impact that you make on the enemy.
And once again, this is something everyone knows most people turn off, because the vast majority of people hate controller vibrations. They do not in any way further immerse you into a video game. I know whenever I'm playing a video game, they usually take me out of the immersion. I'll just have a random vibration in my hands and it will remind me that I've got a controller in my hands, which will usually take me completely out of any sense of immersion. All controller vibrations do is vibrate every 2 seconds, which ends up annoying the hell out of you. I've never heard of a single person other than PlayStation fanboys and gaming journalists actually liking vibration, apart from some people who have just gotten so used to it that they don't even notice it anymore. It's one of those features that the only reason as to why console manufacturers include them still is to say they are there and to say their controller has more features, not to actually improve your immersion, because how exactly does a controller vibrating when you hit something immerse you? That doesn't even come close to simulating actually hitting something in real life, and merely acts as an annoyance in most scenarios. Also, how does this guy not realize that both haptic feedback and adaptive triggers have been seen in PC games for over a year? If it doesn't come at launch, then Techland are being lazy, but either way it'll end up supported later down the road on PC. There is no reason as to why the PC version wouldn't support these DualSense features. They are not exclusive to PlayStation in the slightest like he's suggesting.
But what about audio? Audio and haptic feedback, I think, is going to be the difference you're really going to experience this game, depending on the platform and how well it's implemented. Personally, I think the whole adaptive triggers are a little bit of a gimmick. I mean, they're cool, they're immersive, but especially when you're playing competitive games or any type of game that demands quick reflexes or fast instincts, the adaptive triggers 9 out of 10 times will get you killed.
You know, that seems to remind me of another feature, haptic feedback, another gimmick. The only feature you've mentioned so far that has any actual benefit is 3D audio, and that's again something we've seen on PC for years. I mean, goddamn, even Overwatch supports it, and as someone who's regularly used 3D audio in games before, I can tell you right now, it is nowhere near as beneficial as this guy makes it out to be. It's a nice feature for sure, but it gives at best a negligible difference. Also, 3D audio is supported by Xbox, so I see no reason as to why the Xbox version wouldn't support it as well as the PC and PS5 versions, unless Techland were to purposefully downgrade those versions to not include it, which would be incredibly stupid on their end.
And I just turned them off after a while. But 3D audio, on the other hand, is the ability to realistically simulate hundreds of sounds in a 3D environment to be able to pinpoint an exact sound source. That would mean if every infected has a specific sound to it and you develop a keen sense to that, just based off of sounds alone, you can determine what's around you at any given time. If a pipe, for instance, is kicked around you, you should be able to pinpoint exactly where that sound came from.
Oh my god, it's almost like we've been doing that in games like CSGO and Overwatch on PC for years. This is nothing new, and it doesn't at all show that Dying Light 2 will be best played on PS5. I mean, for fuck's sake, you admitted yourself you usually turn off haptic feedback and adaptive triggers, so why on earth would you use them as an argument to prove the game will be best played on PS5? Just looking at the performance information we already have, it's more likely that the game will run at a higher FPS on Xbox, due to Microsoft's support of variable refresh rates, unlike the PS5, which will be capped at 60 FPS/30 FPS with ray tracing turned on. Now we'll see how the game actually runs when it comes out, but right now nothing you're saying proves the entire point of the video, and you even admitted yourself that adaptive triggers are nothing but a gimmick. In all honesty, this video just comes across as a really poorly thought out ad.
Now, whether if this is going to be a gimmick or something that really is a quote-unquote game changer, that's sadly something we're going to have to wait and see, but I'd have to say, Techland has to have a level of confidence in order for them to even consider incorporating this functionality.
That is not true at all. We see time and time again where developers as well as console manufacturers hype up features and they simply aren't as good as they claim, because that's pretty much the entire point of marketing, to get you overly excited for features. It's not exactly uncommon for developers to incorporate features that console manufacturers like Sony advertise heavily into their games, even if they don't quote unquote have confidence in them. It's a great way to get people like Cynic more interested in a video game. Tell them these features are in said game and all of a sudden they're willing to buy it. Also, I love how this guy completely ignores the fact that 3D audio is natively supported on the Xbox Series X as well as PC. It is not in any way, shape or form something only the PS5 can currently do.
I mean, this is Sony's hardware after all. They do have to work with them and try to figure out a way to have this successfully implemented in their game?
No they don't. The only times that is actually true is if a developer's making a timed exclusive or an exclusive for the PS5. Techland does not need to work with Sony to implement any of these features. That would be ridiculous. Imagine if every developer that wanted to implement these features into their game had to directly contact Sony in order to do it. It would literally only bottleneck how many games get the features and end up working counterintuitive to them using it for promotional material.
This is stuff you don't see really done outside of Sony exclusives.
How ill-informed is this guy? We have been seeing it in tons of games on PS5 and PC. Just one Google search can show you more third-party titles have implemented DualSense features compared to exclusive ones, around 40 more according to Android Central. And that's with me including games that have leaked PC ports as PS5 exclusives, even though they technically aren't. Not only that, but 3D audio has been available on PC for years and is natively supported on Xbox.
I mean, Doom Eternal for sure has adaptive triggers, but I don't think they incorporated 3D audio or haptic feedback, and if they did, I personally couldn't tell that much of a difference. Dying Light 2 on the other hand has so many different nuances though. This would mean, if incorporated correctly, not only would you have a little bit of an audio advantage where you can pinpoint sounds rather than just have a general idea, which is still good in of itself, don't get me wrong, but you just have a little bit more accuracy over everyone else in terms of the sound design, making nights much more terrifying.
Where exactly has Techland said they're only going to support 3D audio on the PS5 version? Because that would be incredibly stupid, when you consider the fact that both Xbox and PC support 3D audio. If there's one channel I didn't expect to see fanboying for the PS5, it was Cynic, but for some reason he's purposely ignoring well-known information to push the idea that the PS5 version will be superior, when that is blatantly false. The console versions will be almost identical and the PC version will obviously be better. I usually tend to like this guy's content, but god damn is he missing the mark with this video. Not only promoting the console version of the game before we even saw gameplay, when this entire situation with Dying Light 2 is screaming another 2077 console level port, but misinforming his audience overall by pretending like these features are PlayStation only when that simply isn't true. I find it hard to believe that Techland would essentially shill for Sony by not incorporating 3D audio on systems that fully support it in order to promote the PS5's Tempest engine.
I said it before and I'll say it again. It seems like this game is the true next generation title. I mean, Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 has really been out for a little over a year. A lot of games have gotten delayed, so it puts this game in a prime position to really take advantage of hardware like no other game has prior to it.
And the undeniably best place to do that is on PC hardware. Nvidia reflex latency and the list goes on simply aren't available on the PS5 right now, and never will be because it's Nvidia technology, and the same level of ray tracing you can achieve on PC again simply cannot be achieved on the PS5. The only way you could see the PS5 version as being superior is through blind fanboying, if I'm being honest. 3D audio is not as amazing as you are making it out to be, and you've even said yourself the rest are gimmicks. You're talking about the PS5 version being the best, and yet you are having to use PC gameplay of Dying Light 2 for your video because you had never seen PS5 gameplay when you made it. You're taking mental gymnastics to a whole new level in order to push the PS5 version, and it's so weird to me that you do that when we are well under a month away from launch and we still have little to no console gameplay. That is pathetic, and you should in no way, shape or form be encouraging people to get the console versions pre-launch. This entire situation is screaming Cyberpunk 2077, although I am absolutely praying I am wrong.
So while some of these features might seem like gimmicks in other titles to some people, this game might really deliver on some of these features to show exactly what this console is capable of doing.
When it comes to what system is capable of doing, I don't think of fucking haptic feedback and adaptive triggers, nor do I think of 3D audio. Not a single one of those features is impressive. This is 2022. 3D audio has been around since the fucking 90s, and Sony have not magically revolutionized the technology in comparison to PC or Xbox. When I think of something impressive, I think of ray tracing and high FPS at high resolutions, not the stuff you are listing.
You know, throw on these features plus ray tracing, it's gonna be one hell of a visual and audio experience. But I mean, for some people, they play without vibrations, other people play without the adaptive triggers like myself. The only difference is gonna be the audio, and it's gonna be interesting to see exactly to what extent this 3D audio in the PlayStation 5 is going to change over the other platforms.
Unless Techland were to purposely downgrade the PC and Xbox versions of Dying Light 2 in terms of their audio, then it will be the literal exact same experience on the Xbox Series X and PS5, along with PCs when it comes to audio. Unlike you seem to think, the Xbox Series X does support 3D audio, and it's been a thing on PC for years. Also, the fudge you mean it's going to be a visual showcase? You hadn't even seen console gameplay yet when you uploaded the video. You had no idea what it was going to look like, and we still have barely any idea, because all we have to go off is 10 seconds of gameplay for each console. You are literally having to use the PC RTX ray tracing showcase whilst talking about the PS5's ray tracing. That is how little gameplay of the console versions we have. Does that not seem suspicious to you, considering the fact we are even a month away from launch? We're well below it. This blind trusting of gaming companies is exactly why so many people got scammed with Cyberpunk 2077 at launch, and I would have thought YouTubers would have learned to be more cautious as well as smart about stuff like this, but apparently not.
The next Dying Snow episode is coming out in just a couple of days, and I don't know why, but this is something that just popped in my head, and recent comments have been asking about how this game is going to run on next-gen consoles, which, in case you guys haven't heard, to bring everyone up to speed, there's going to be 2 different modes on the Series X and the PlayStation 5. You can play on a performance mode, which locks the game at 60 frames, or you can play on a quality mode, which supports ray tracing, and I believe with ray tracing it locks the game at a solid 30 FPS.
An interesting fact he somehow forgot to mention is that the Xbox Series X version will be using variable refresh rates in order to get the game above 60 FPS in some scenarios. And how does this guy not see the issue with the fact people are still having to fucking ask how the game will actually run / look like on consoles, when at the time they were about 3 weeks away from launch? That is a serious issue. We should have known what the console version looked like months ago, not just as the game is about to launch. That tells me they're rushing the console version out considering how much PC gameplay we have in comparison. Now we have finally reached the end of that terrible video, and the rest of his video is just an outro and talking about the PC requirements, which means we have finally come to the end of my video. So with all that being said, please do not forget to do all the things YouTubers love to beg you to do, aka check out my Discord server, follow me on Twitter, as well as like, comment and subscribe. So I'll see you all in the next video.